was the moment Maya had feared the most, standing there in front of Ethan, her past crashing down around her like a storm she couldn't outrun. She thought she could fake regret, pretend to be the woman he once loved, but the truth was already laid bare. Ethan had seen through her, and he'd built his empire with one goal in mind, proving everyone wrong, especially her. As the lights of the gala flickered, the crowd went silent, watching the power dynamic shift before their eyes. When he spoke, his words weren't just a rejection, they were a verdict. You tried, and you failed. Miserably. The room buzzed with whispers as Maya was escorted out, and Ethan stood tall, his empire now a monument to his success, and her downfall. But as she stumbled away, Ethan knew something deeper was at play. This wasn't just about revenge. This was about making sure that no one, especially Maya, would ever underestimate him again. The stage was set. Now, the real game began. Thank you, truly, for being part of this journey with me. I appreciate you taking the time to read, reflect, and immerse yourself in this story. Every chapter, every twist, every moment is crafted with the intent to connect, to share a piece of this experience with you. Your support and engagement mean the world to me, and I'm grateful for every comment, every word of encouragement, and every shared insight. But this is just the beginning. There's so much more to uncover, so many layers to explore, and I'm ready to dive deeper. This story isn't just about the struggles of Ethan or Maya, it's about us, the choices we make, and the battles we fight, both in silence and out loud. So, I invite you to join me as we dig into the next chapter. Let's explore where these characters go, how they evolve, and how they face what's coming next. Your thoughts, feedback, and engagement are what will keep this story alive and growing. Now, let's keep the momentum going, there's more to unfold, and I'm excited to share it with you. Let's dive in together. Ethan Black swiped through his tablet. Revenue, $75,000. Another strong month for his shipping business. He let out a small smile that faded quickly. His operations were suffering again. Not that anyone knew about it in his personal life. Downstairs, the front door slammed. Ethan, his wife yelled, her voice laced with frustration. He sighed, closed the real report, and opened a fake one, modest salary, boring corporate numbers, sparing himself the trouble of facing the truth. Maya's heels clicked sharply as she stormed into his office. Even when angry, she looked like a celebrity on a red carpet. Perfect makeup, glossy hair, glowing skin. But her cold stare ruined the illusion. I called you 3 times. Sorry, I was working, Ethan replied, cool and composed. Yeah, sure, she scoffed, tossing her bag onto the couch. That little company of yours, she said, raising an eyebrow. Veronica called. She and Mark just bought a place in Malibu, he said, hoping to shift the conversation. That's great, Ethan said flatly. Great? No, Ethan. That's what winning looks like, she waved her hand around the room, emphasizing the discontent with her surroundings. This isn't it. Ethan said nothing, though he felt it all, the years of slow disconnection. The digs, the jabs, the criticism that had once been scattered but now were part of her every word. We're doing fine, he muttered. Fine, she laughed bitterly, the sound sharp. Mark makes 3 times what you do. You really think this is fine? Ethan knew exactly how much Mark made. He'd looked it up. Mark's income was a fraction of his own, but he never corrected her. It wasn't worth the argument. What did you buy today? Ethan asked, hoping for a change of subject. Maya perked up for a moment but quickly rolled her eyes. Just a dress for Veronica's party. Nothing fancy. Not like I can afford anything better with your paycheck, he muttered. She didn't realize the truth. Maya only saw their small joint account, the one just big enough to maintain their middle-class life. Ethan controlled millions, but she had no idea. I need to finish this report, he said, turning back to the screen. Of course, Maya snapped. God forbid you try for a promotion or something. She walked out, her heels clicking sharply. Ethan stared at the door, then refocused on his work, real work. He'd been hiding his wealth for years, at first as a test. To see if she would love him without the money. He had his answer now. But the lie, it made it easier to see who she truly was. His phone buzzed. A message from Kellen, his business partner, pinged on Ethan's phone. Meeting with investors from Seoul tomorrow. Need you there. Big deal. Ethan quickly typed, got it. He knew Maya would complain about another late night, but he didn't care anymore. Her words had stopped meaning much a long time ago. A loud crash from the kitchen broke the silence, followed by a string of curses. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment, bracing himself, before heading down to see what she had broken this time. That night, they sat at the kitchen table, takeout containers in front of them. Maya had refused to cook again, opting instead to scroll through her phone, making disapproving sounds every now and then. Veronica just got a new car, she said, turning her screen toward him. A shiny, expensive SUV, Veronica's bright smile next to it. Must be nice having a husband who actually provides, Maya added bitterly. Ethan kept eating, unfazed. Our car works just fine. Works just fine, she repeated mockingly, slamming her phone onto the table. That's your favorite word, isn't it? Functional house, functional car, functional life. She leaned in, her eyes sharp. Is that really all you want, Ethan? Just the bare minimum? He set his fork down, meeting her gaze, really looking at her. Once upon a time, they used to talk about dreams, about building something real together. But now, she measured success in the kind of things that didn't matter to him, handbags and kitchen remodels. What would make you happy, Maya? He asked, his voice even. She blinked, caught off guard for just a moment before scoffing. A husband who's not a broke failure would be a nice start. Her words didn't sting anymore. It was just more evidence, more data to file away. Ethan nodded once. I see. No, you really don't, she spat back, the bitterness in her voice cutting through the air. She shoved her plate away, clearly offended. Do you know what it's like, having Veronica look at me with pity? Having my friends whisper behind my back, asking why the hell I'm still with you? Everyone knows you're stuck, Ethan. Everyone. You're a damn joke. Her eyes flared with anger. A man who can't even buy his wife a decent gift, let alone a life. She twisted the simple wedding band he had given her when they still believed in each other. I deserve more than this. Ethan picked up his napkin, wiping his mouth slowly and calmly. I've got work to finish. Of course you do, she muttered, her voice dripping with sarcasm. God forbid you stay in the room and deal with reality. Just run away, like always. He stopped in the doorway, turned his head slightly, and said quietly, I'm not running. I'm just done arguing with someone who doesn't want to hear anything unless it shines. Her voice rose, bitter and loud. No, you're done because you've got nothing to say. No defense. You know you're a failure, and you can't spin that with one of your little speeches. Look around, this house, that car, our sad day-to-day life. Ethan gave a quick nod, turning to walk off, her voice still echoing behind him. Upstairs, he opened a hidden folder on his tablet and checked the numbers. The new startup he was acquiring was on track, another smart move. A few more million added to his name. Downstairs, Maya still saw him as a nobody. The joke had worn off long ago. What had started as a test had turned into a game of patience. One day, she'd see exactly who she'd been mocking. Later that night, his car clock read 9:45 p.m. as he pulled into the driveway. The meeting with the South Korean investors had gone long, but it was worth it. They'd sealed a deal that would break him into the East Asian market, a huge win, years in the making. He sat there a moment, letting go of the CEO mindset and slipping back into the role of just Ethan, the man Maya thought barely kept his job. The switch was second nature now. All the lights in the house were on. Not a good sign. When Maya was tired of him, she'd disappear early, binge-watch some show, and pretend he didn't exist. But lights on meant she was still awake. And if she was awake, she was waiting. Waiting meant trouble. Ethan stepped inside and closed the door behind him. It unlocked again. She always left it unlocked when she was pissed. He barely got his shoes off before her voice sliced through the silence. "You're finally home." He dropped his bags by the stairs. "The meeting ran late," he said. "I texted you." "Yeah, your very important meeting," she said, stepping into view, arms crossed, silk robe pulled tight. Her face was flushed, like she had been pacing and rehearsing her speech. What was it this time? Another nonsense project that's going to open doors someday? "It was productive," he replied, heading toward the kitchen, just wanting some water and maybe 5 damn minutes without a fight. She followed closely, breathing down his neck. "Productive?" she mocked. "You know what would actually be productive? You making enough money to live like actual people." Ethan filled a glass of water from the tap, turned around, and leaned against the counter. "We've got everything we need, Maya." "Neat," she snapped. "You want a gold star for barely surviving?" Veronica doesn't settle for what she needs. She gets what she wants. All my friends do. I'm the idiot stuck with. She motioned toward him like he was a stain on the couch. "This." He took a slow sip, watching her over the rim of his glass. There it was, no more passive digs, just raw contempt. "At least you're finally honest," Ethan muttered under his breath. Maya ignored it, or maybe she didn't hear it. Or maybe she just didn't care. "Your sister called," she said, pacing the kitchen now. "She invited us to the lake house next weekend." I had to lie. Told her we already had plans. "We could have gone," she laughed, a hard, mean sound. "And let them see how damn broke we are. No gift, no booze, no nothing? What, show up with a 6-pack and coupons?" "Yeah, great plan." She slammed her palm on the counter. "You have any idea how humiliating this is? People pity me. They ask why I'm still here with you." Ethan set the glass down gently, like if he wasn't careful, he'd throw it. He stared at her for a moment, then spoke, his voice calm but sharp. "If you're that miserable, then maybe we should talk about separating." That stopped her cold for a second. Then her face twisted, and the venom poured out. "So that's your big move? Leave me with nothing while you disappear into one of your shell companies?" "Hell no." She jabbed a finger at the floor, her voice like a whip. "This house is all we've got. You're not taking it from me just because you failed." Ethan almost laughed, but he stopped himself. She never once asked whose name was on the deed. Never once looked at the fine print. Assumed she owned the place just because she picked the damn curtains. "I'm going to shower," he said, his voice flat. "Don't you freaking walk away from me," she snapped, storming after him. "I'm not done." "I am," he said, without turning around. "It's been a long day." She followed him down the hall, her footsteps louder now, each one filled with frustration. "You don't know what a long day is," she spat, her words sharp. "Try waking up every day next to a man who dragged you down. Who makes you live like this when you were supposed to be so much more?" Ethan reached the stairs, but she grabbed his arm, spinning him around, her eyes wild now. "Answer me, damn it. Say something. Defend your sorry ass." Ethan looked at her hand on his sleeve, then met her gaze. "What do you want me to say, Maya?" "Anything," she barked. "Fight back, or are you really just that pathetic?" "Fighting you is pointless," he said quietly. "Because you always lose." She shoved him, fury in her voice. "You're a goddamn loser, Ethan. I married a damn loser, and that's on me." He stood there, breathing slowly, his eyes fixed on her. She was a stranger now, someone wearing a ghost of someone he used to love. He finally spoke, his words soft but final. "I'm sorry you feel that way." Her scream wasn't even words, it was a broken, raw sound that cracked out of her as she spun toward the kitchen. Ethan didn't move. He knew that sound. She grabbed the pot from the stove, one hand quick, without thought. The water had been sitting there, still steaming, still hot enough to burn. Ethan saw it coming, saw it in her eyes a split second too late. The pot swung hard, water flying through the air like it had a life of its own. It slammed into his shoulder and chest, soaking through his shirt, the hot liquid burning straight into his skin. A sharp, white-hot pain exploded across his body. "Crap," he gasped, more from shock than anything else. Then the pain hit full force, making it hard to breathe. His shirt stuck to him like melted plastic, clinging to his skin. Every move made it worse. Maya stood there, breathing heavily, the pot still clenched in her hand. "Get the hell out," she screamed. "You broke a leech. Get out of my house. Don't ever come back." Ethan looked at her, really looked at her, with no guilt, no panic, just pure hate on her face, as if burning him was just another Tuesday. That was it. The final data point. He turned, slow and stiff, the pain flaring with each step. He walked to the closet, grabbed his coat, and took his time. Behind him, she was still yelling. "Did you hear me? I said, get the hell out. You gonna limp out like a little coward now, huh?" He didn't answer. He just opened the door. Cold air hit him in the face, and for the first time in hours, it felt good. He paused, glanced back once. "Goodbye, Maya." Ethan stepped out into the cold, closing the door softly behind him. In the driveway, he slid into his car, wincing as the seat belt pressed against his burned shoulder. He started the engine and pulled away from the woman who'd just burned him, from the fake life he'd been living for years. He made 2 calls. The first was to Kellen Graves. Kellen picked up on the second ring. "She crossed the line," Ethan said. "Time to trigger the plan," Kellen replied. "All of it," Ethan said calmly, a hint of pleasure in his voice. "Where are you going?" Kellen asked. "The penthouse. Have Dr. Miller meet me there. I'll need him to look at the burns." The second call was to his lawyer. Short and clear, orders to start the fallout. By morning, Maya would learn the truth and lose everything. As Ethan drove through the quiet streets of Charlotte, heading to the luxury penthouse she never knew about, he felt no rage, no grief, just a cold, sharp focus. He had tested her loyalty. She had failed. Now it was time for payback. His shoulder ached, but the pain kept him alert. He needed to be sharp. Maya woke to strange voices outside her window, men, calm and businesslike. Still half asleep, she smiled. Good. Ethan was gone. Hopefully licking his wounds in some cheap motel. Maybe now he'd finally grow a spine. Then she heard hammering. Maya got up, peeked through the curtain, and froze. 2 men in suits stood in the front yard, putting up a large red sign. "Foreclosed property." "What the hell?" she whispered. She threw on her robe and ran downstairs, yanked open the front door. "Hey, you can't put that here. This house isn't foreclosed." One of the men looked up, gray hair, clipboard in hand. "You Mrs. Maya Black?" "Yes, and this is my house." He glanced at his papers. "Ma'am, this house belongs to Ridgepoint Holdings. It was reclaimed this morning. We're just here to put up the sign." Maya's heart dropped. "That's a mistake. We've paid everything on time." The man shook his head. "There's no mortgage. It was never in your name or your husband's. Ridgepoint owns it outright. You were under an occupancy agreement." He handed her an envelope. "Everything you need's in there. You've got 24 hours to pack your things." Maya stared at the envelope, stunned. "Ridgepoint? No, we bought this house 5 years ago." "Not according to county records," the man said. "You were just listed as an approved tenant." He turned and walked off. Maya stood there, frozen, watching them finish putting up the sign. Her hand shook as she opened the envelope. The paperwork was dense, legal, but the message was clear. She had no rights to the house. The contract had been canceled due to her behavior. Her stomach churned. This couldn't be happening. She ran to Ethan's office, ripped open the filing cabinet, and found the folder marked House Documents. She spread the papers across the desk. There was the agreement she remembered, but it wasn't a sale. It was a lease. Her signature was there, but only as someone allowed to live there, not own it. This can't be real, she whispered, then heard a series of beeps from downstairs. She ran back down. The fridge was off, the microwave blank, the power gone. She grabbed her phone, but there was no signal. She tried the landline. Dead. Wi-Fi. Offline. Heart pounding, she grabbed the front door handle. It wouldn't budge. The key didn't fit. No, she gasped, rattling the handle. No, no, no. Someone had changed the lock. A knock at the back door made her jump. She raced through the house, her mind racing. Maybe Ethan came back. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe this was all a joke. But through the glass stood 3 movers in uniforms. Maya snapped, "What do you want?" "We're here for pickup," one of them said. "Everything owned by Ridgepoint Holdings." "Nothing here is yours," he showed her a screen. "We've got orders. Everything except clothes and personal items goes," he handed her a paper. "If you try to stop us, we'll call the cops. You can stay and watch or not." Maya stood stunned as they moved in. They took the couch she loved, the table she bragged about, the bed she had slept in last night, all of it, wrapped, loaded, gone. As the movers worked, it hit her. Ethan wasn't broke, no way. A broke man couldn't pull this off. The doorbell rang. She rushed to open it, praying it was someone who could fix all this. It wasn't. "Veronica," Maya gasped. "Thank God, something awful's happening. They're taking the house, everything." "I know," Veronica said flatly, arms crossed, sunglasses still on. "It's all over the neighborhood chat." Maya Black kicked out of a house she never owned. Real drama. "You're not gonna help?" Maya blinked. Veronica took off her sunglasses, her eyes cold. "Why should I, after how you treated Ethan?" "What are you talking about?" "He's a loser." Veronica laughed hard. "Jesus, you still don't get it." "Get what?" Maya asked, confused. "Ethan Black, CEO, founder of Nexus Logistics, worth millions." Maya's mouth dropped. "No, he makes like 70 grand a month," she said, shaking her head. "Try 700, Veronica said. "That's just what's on the books. Turns out your loser husband owned all of this and you treated him like trash." Movers walked past, carrying her crystal set. Maya didn't even look. "How do you know all this?" she whispered. "Everyone does," Veronica said. "You think we invited you to parties for you? We wanted Ethan there. David respected him. You were a joke." She checked her watch. "I have lunch downtown. Don't call me. We're done." She walked off, heels clicking, and drove away in her luxury car. Maya stood in the doorway of a life that wasn't hers anymore. She'd pushed away the man who had given her everything. Now, she had nothing. Ethan stood by the window in his penthouse, staring out at Charlotte's skyline. Part of it now is, thanks to his deals. The place was sleek, hardwood floors, designer furniture, big art pieces, all wired to a smart system. This was his real life. The private elevator chimed. Kellen Graves walked in. "She's out," Kellen said. "Movers wrapped it in under 2 hours, clean job." Ethan didn't turn. "The locks?" Kellen asked. "Changed at sunrise. Cameras at every door." "We're watching everything," Ethan replied, rotating his shoulder. "My shoulder's healing." "You get photos?" Kellen asked. "Yep," Doc signed off. "Footage shows me hurt when I got to the penthouse?" "No charges?" Kellen asked. "Not yet," Ethan replied, pouring coffee. Maya twisted the story. "Make me the bad guy?" "That's not the plan." "What is the plan?" Kellen asked. Ethan leaned back in his chair. "I want her to sit with it, feel what I felt. Pressing charges would be too fast. I want slow pain, the kind that sticks. He handed Kellen a mug and sat down. Losing the house was just step one. You've been prepping this a while, huh? Kellen said. Ethan nodded. At first, it was a test. I kept my money quiet, he added, his voice a little softer. I hoped she loved me for me. She didn't. Nope, Kellen said, raising his cup. She failed. And now? Ethan met his gaze. Now I'm not just ending a marriage. I'm cleaning up a mistake. They sat quietly for a moment. Kellen broke the silence. Board meetings at 11. European deals on the table. Ethan nodded. Have Thomas bring the car at 10:30. Kellen studied him. You seem lighter. I feel it, Ethan said, his voice steady. Pretending to be less than I am, just to keep the peace, was eliminating me. That mask is off now, Kellen said. Ethan sipped his coffee. So what's next? She'll panic, Ethan replied. Try to call friends, family. None of them will help. They saw this coming. Then she'll come looking for me. Ethan's gaze turned cold. That's when the real lesson starts. You've thought it all through, Kellen said. Ethan stood, walking back to the window. She thought quiet meant weak. That being patient meant I'd never act. He looked at his reflection, calm, unshaken. She's about to learn the difference. Kellen joined him by the window. And when it's all gone, when there's nothing left for her. Ethan's voice was steady. She'll just be a name I'll remember as a warning. Never mistake looks for character. Morning light bounced off the Charlotte skyline. Ethan stood at the window of his penthouse, watching the city. In the glass, he didn't see the small man Maya used to mock. He saw the man he really was, the one she never bothered to know. The burn on his shoulder? Worth it. He was free now. Back in the suburbs, Maya sat on the front steps of the empty house. The foreclosure sign stabbed the lawn like a warning. The movers were gone. All she had was one suitcase and a few things they hadn't taken. Her phone had no service. The key didn't work anymore. Curtains across the street stayed shut. She needed help. She needed someone. She grabbed her things and started walking 6 blocks to Brielle's house, her best friend for years. Shopping, gossip, venting about their husbands. If anyone would open the door, it was Brielle. Each step felt heavier. Maybe Veronica had told the truth. Maybe Ethan had money all along. Had she mocked a man who could have given her everything? No, it had to be some sick joke. It was just anger from last night. This would blow over. Brielle's perfect house came into view. Maya rang the bell, setting her bag down. The door opened, and Brielle's smile dropped. Maya, she said flatly. Didn't expect you. Maya, thank God, everything's falling apart, Maya said, her voice tight. Ethan locked me out. Shut off everything. They took the house. I know, Brielle said, not moving. It's in the group chat. What group chat? Maya asked, confusion spreading across her face. The neighborhood chat. They're all saying Ethan finally hit his limit. Limit? Maya blinked. They think he was the victim? Brielle cut in. Paid for everything? Let you buy designer crap while you worked non-stop? Took your snide comments in front of everyone? Maya's face went red. You don't get it. He was just a nobody. Brielle scoffed. Ethan Black is one of the richest men in Charlotte. Everyone knew that. Veronica said that too, but it can't be true. We lived in a basic house, old car. That's what he wanted, Brielle said. He tested you. You failed. Maya's voice cracked. Why didn't you tell me? Brielle's face hardened. He asked us not to. He wanted to see if you'd love him for him. Maya's desperation surged. You didn't? I just need a place to crash, please. Just a few days. Brielle didn't even blink. No. I've watched you tear him down for years, Brielle said, her voice firm. I said nothing because he asked me to. But I've had enough. We're friends, Maya, Brielle replied, turning her back. I can't do this anymore. Before money mattered more than people, Maya started to shut the door. Try Brielle. Maya, wait. But the door closed. She stood there, stunned. One more door shut, one more person done with her. She walked away, head high, even as neighbors peeked from behind their curtains. Her fall had become a public show. There was no hotel, no place to go. Her cards were frozen. No money left. She had one option left, Veronica. 2 hours and 3 declined rideshare apps later, Maya stood at the gates of her sister's massive house in Myers Park. 10,000 square feet of marble and crystal. The same house she used to envy. She pressed the call button. Yes? Veronica's voice came through. It's me, Maya. Can we talk? A pause, then the gate opened. Maya dragged her suitcase up the long driveway. By the time she reached the door, Veronica was there, arms crossed. Well, she said, didn't expect this day to come so soon. I need somewhere to stay, Maya said, keeping calm. Just for now. And why would I help you? Veronica asked, her voice flat. After all the times you looked down on me, acted like your life was better. I never looked down on you, Maya muttered. Please, Veronica scoffed, every trip I took, every nice thing I bought, you'd act like I was shallow. But it was just jealousy, wasn't it? Maya dropped her eyes. Yeah, I was jealous. I'm sorry. Obviously, Veronica said, dryly. Now you're here, asking for help. I have nowhere else to go, Maya whispered. Veronica stared at her for a moment, then slowly stepped aside. You can stay in the guest house. For now. Relief washed over Maya. Thank you. I won't be a burden. You already are, Veronica said, her tone biting. But hey, family's family, even when they're awful. Veronica led the way through her massive home. Maya followed, trying not to stare at the marble floors, expensive furniture, and art that probably cost more than her whole wardrobe. There are rules, Veronica said over her shoulder. What kind of rules? Maya asked. You'll earn your stay, Veronica replied. My housekeeper's on vacation. I need someone to cover. Maya stopped. You want me to clean your house? Veronica turned with a cold smile. Take it or leave it. You want a roof? You work, or find a shelter. Maya's face burned, but she had nowhere else to go. Fine, she muttered. Good. Uniforms are in the guest house. You start at 7 a.m. I'll leave a list. Veronica walked on without a glance. And Maya, she called back, turning with cold eyes, if anything goes missing, I'll have you arrested. No warning. The guest house was nicer than most apartments. It had a small kitchen, bathroom, and an open living space. But next to the main house, it felt cramped. Maya dropped her suitcase on the bed. The weight of it all hit her again. Tomorrow, she'd be scrubbing toilets. She laughed, a short, shaky sound, then burst into tears. It was all too much. Less than a day ago, she had a house, a life, a future. Now, nothing. When the crying stopped, she sat on the little couch, staring at the yard. The sun was setting. She needed a break. In the corner sat a TV. She turned it on. Local news came on. She was about to change the channel when the screen froze. Ethan. He stood at a podium in a sharp suit. The screen read, Ethan Black, CEO of Nexus Logistics Group. His voice was calm, strong. This partnership marks a $400 million expansion into Asia, he said. Nexus continues to lead in global supply chain solutions. Then the reporter's voice cut in. Ethan Black, whose net worth tops $200 million, has quietly built one of Charlotte's biggest logistics firms over the past decade. Maya stared, dumbfounded. $200 million. The man she had called a loser was rich beyond anything she'd imagined. She'd mocked him, screamed at him, thrown boiling water on him. And all this time, he'd been pretending, hiding the truth. The segment ended. She sat frozen, her mind racing. Then something clicked. She had to fix this, somehow. She stood up, determined. She'd find him, apologize, say whatever he needed to hear. She wasn't going to live like this, not as a maid, not forgotten. Across the city, Ethan sat at the head of a long table in a sleek glass boardroom. Behind him, the Nexus logo gleamed in silver and blue. Executives and board members watched him closely. They were finishing the agenda when he spoke. "Before we wrap up," Ethan said, "there's one more item I'd like to bring up. An off-agenda opportunity." Kellen, next to him, gave a slight nod. "Wexler Distributors," Ethan said. 40 Mini. He tapped his tablet. A logo and data appeared on the main screen. Family-run, in debt, outdated systems. People exchanged puzzled looks. "With respect," said CFO Janet Coleman, "Wexler doesn't fit our strategy. Their coverage overlaps ours. Their tech's a decade behind," Henry said. "You're right," Janet replied. "On paper, it's a bad fit," Marcus, head of strategy, added. "So why bring it up?" Henry swiped to the next slide. It showed ownership details. "Because Wexler is run by George Wexler, my former father-in-law. His nephew, Dylan, is ops manager." The room went quiet. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "This a revenge play?" he asked. "No," Henry said coolly. "It caught my eye because of the name. But the numbers speak for themselves." He flipped to asset maps. "They own key hubs in cities we've targeted. Their clients include 3 government contracts we've wanted for years." Janet leaned forward. "And your plan if we buy?" "Strip what's useful. Shut the rest. Reassign or cut staff." "The brand's gone." "And the Wexlers?" Marcus asked. Henry's tone dropped. "First to go. Their mismanagement is the problem." Kellen added, "They're in deep. We can buy in for 60 cents on the dollar. Their loans are due soon. No cash, they fold." The room went quiet. Henry waited. No need to push. The numbers spoke for themselves. "I say we move forward," Marcus said at last. "Too good to pass up." "I second," Janet added. "But only if Henry stays out of the talks." "Agreed," Henry said. "I've already stepped back. Kellen will lead with legal and finance." The vote passed with no objections. As the others left, Kellen stayed behind. "That went smoother than I thought," he said. "You made it airtight," Henry replied. "It's a smart buy," Kellen said. "The personal side, it's just a bonus," Henry added, adjusting his tie. "A big one." Kellen grinned. Taking Wexler Distributors would crush George Wexler, and it's well-deserved. Henry's eyes hardened. George raised Sophia to chase money and status. Now they'll both pay for it. "What about Dylan?" Kellen asked. "He goes too," Henry said flatly. "Overpaid, underqualified, and full of himself. His last name got him the job, not his skills." They walked toward Ethan's private elevator. "How fast can we close?" Ethan asked. "Now that the board's in, fast. 2 weeks, maybe less." "They're out of options," Kellen replied. "Do it, and make sure the press release says we're eliminating the Wexler name." "I want that loud and clear," Ethan said. The elevator doors slid open. "Any word on Maya?" Ethan asked. "She's at her sister's. Cleaning the house for room and board?" A flicker of satisfaction crossed Ethan's face. "Good. Let me know once Wexler is locked in. I want the timing perfect." The elevator doors closed. Ethan smiled to himself. Everything was falling into place. Maya was finally feeling what it meant to lose, and her family would be next. His shoulders still ached, a dull reminder of what she'd done. But this wasn't about rage anymore. It was justice, cold, clean justice. She'd laughed at him for years. She wouldn't laugh again. He checked his watch. Meeting in 30 minutes. The Japan deal, more growth, revenge was just one of many projects in motion. 10 days later, George Wexler stood in Nexus's glass lobby, shoulders heavy. At 65, he looked years older than he had a week ago. Dylan, pacing nearby, was fuming. "This is crap," Dylan muttered loud enough for staff to hear. "He can't do this." "He already did," George said quietly. "We signed. It's over. We had no choice. He waited until we were broke." George sighed. "That's business." "We've done it too," Dylan snapped. "Not to family," George retorted. "He's not family anymore," George said, looking at the clock. "And he's making us wait on purpose." Right then, the elevator opened. Kellen stepped out in a sharp suit, his calm face betraying nothing. Mr. Wexler, Kellen greeted, "Come with me. We'll go over the handover." "We're here to see Ethan," Dylan said, arms crossed. "Mr. Ford's unavailable," Kellen replied without missing a beat. "I'm leading the transition." Kellen turned and walked back toward the elevator. George followed, pulling Dylan along. They entered a top-floor boardroom with floor-to-ceiling views. On one wall, Nexus Logistics. On the screen, Wexler Distributors, with a red slash through it. "Have a seat," Kellen said. George sat. Dylan stayed standing. "This is personal," Dylan said, "it's because of Maya." Kellen calmly set down his tablet. "This was a board-approved deal, nothing personal, just business." "Bull," Dylan snapped. "He buys us outright after dumping Maya, come on." "Nexus bought a failing company with valuable assets," Kellen said. "Shall we discuss severance or keep arguing?" George placed a hand on Dylan's arm. "Let it go." Dylan dropped into a chair, jaw tight. Kellen continued. "All Wexler family will be removed, effective today. You'll each get 2 months severance." 2 months? Dylan exploded. "I've worked here my whole life and lost market share every quarter." Kellen said coolly, "Your record doesn't call for a bonus." George shut his eyes, humiliated. "What about the other staff?" he asked. "They'll be reviewed," Kellen replied. "Some may be offered jobs here, others will get standard severance." "So you're gutting the Wexlers?" Dylan said. "We're removing bad management," Kellen replied. "It's not our fault every Wexler on payroll fits that description." Kellen slid 2 folders across the table. "These are your severance papers. You'll need to sign them before you leave to get your payout. There's also an NDA, just standard. You can't talk about the deal or your firing." George picked up his folder with shaky hands. "Can I ask you something, Mr. Graves?" Kellen nodded. "Go ahead. Did Ethan ever say why?" "Not the business reasons, I know those. I mean the real reason." Kellen looked at him for a moment. "Mr. Ford doesn't have to explain his choices. But if you're asking whether your daughter's behavior made him look closer at your company's weak spots, I think you already know the answer." George nodded slowly. His worst fear was confirmed. "She ruined us." "No," Kellen said. "You did that yourselves with bad management." "But yeah, Maya didn't help." He stood. "I'll give you a minute to look everything over. The notary's in the next room when you're ready." As he walked out, Dylan leaned toward George. "We can fight this. There's gotta be a way." "There's not," George said flatly. "It's done. The company, my retirement, your job, it's all gone. And unlike Maya, we don't have a rich sister to bail us out." 6 floors up, in his office, Ethan watched the live security feed. George looked broken. Ethan didn't smile. He just watched, calm, focused. George was just another casualty. His phone buzzed. A message from Kellen. They're signing. George compliant, Dylan angry, no leverage. Maya should hear soon. Ethan typed back a short reply and turned to the next task. The Wexler deal would close, the brand erased, and the assets folded into Nexus. Business as usual. But for Maya, scrubbing floors to survive, it would hit hard. One more bridge gone, one more lesson. And Ethan, he was far from done. The Charlotte Business Gala was the biggest event of the year. Held at the Westwood Hotel, it brought together the city's power players for a night of flash, networking, and awards. Ethan Black adjusted his tux and stood near the entrance, nodding as people congratulated him. Tonight, he'd win the Innovator of the Year award, recognition for taking Nexus Logistics global. Big crowd, Kellen said, glancing around. Every name in town's here, Ethan replied, then smirked. Plus a few extras. Across the room, Veronica and her husband, David, chatted with the mayor. Didn't expect them, Kellen said. Veronica wouldn't miss a photo op, Ethan muttered, taking a glass of champagne. Any sign of our guest? He asked. Kellen checked his phone. Yeah, security says a woman matching her look tried to get in. Said she's your wife. Ethan stayed calm. And they're doing what I told them. They'll let her in after making her wait, publicly. Kellen gave him a look. You sure about this? It's going to be a scene. That's the idea, Ethan said. Maya lives for attention. Tonight, she'll get it, but not the kind she wants. All around, the city's elite mingled, suits, gowns, handshakes. Ethan moved easily through it all, smiling, making deals. But he kept his eyes on the doors. When Maya finally walked in, he saw her instantly, though he didn't react. 3 weeks of cleaning floors had worn her down. Her dress was nice, but probably borrowed. Her face was tense, makeup unable to hide the strain. She scanned the room, looking for him. Target spotted, Kellen said under his breath. Want me to step in? No, Ethan said. Let her come. Everything's ready. He slipped away from the group he'd been talking with and moved toward the windows, out of the crowd's center. Now, it was her turn. It didn't take her long to find him. Maya cut across the ballroom like a storm cloud dressed in silk, eyes flicking, calculating. When she finally reached him, she paused, delicate, unsure, all fake. Ethan clocked it instantly. Same walk she used when she'd maxed out the card. Same trembling lip from every fight she started and pretended not to. Ethan, she said, soft like breath. Thank you for letting me in. I wasn't sure if... He stared, nothing on his face but the echo of patience run dry. She pushed on. You look incredible. And congratulations on the award. I always knew you'd. Don't. His voice landed like a backhand, flat, cold. Don't pretend you ever gave a damn, Maya swallowed. Can we just talk, please? Just a few minutes. There's been a terrible misunderstanding. He cut in, sharp. Is that what we're calling it now? You launched a pot of boiling water at me, Maya. That wasn't a misunderstanding. That was attempted manslaughter with kitchenware. She flinched, eyes darting. People were watching now. I was angry, Ethan. You just showed up. After everything, his laugh was low and bitter. You mean after you called me a worthless bum and kicked me out of a house I paid for? That everything? I didn't know who you were, she said quickly. Not really. If you had known I was rich, he cut in again, leaning in just enough for her to smell the steel on his breath. You would have kissed my ass instead of burning my skin off it. Got it. Tears formed in her eyes, but Ethan knew the trick. He'd seen better acting in detergent commercials. I messed up, I did, she said, voice cracking. But people make mistakes, and they can grow. They can come back from them. Ethan's jaw flexed. Then louder, he said, forgiveness is for kids and priests. You and I were past prayers. Kellen appeared behind him, subtle as ever. Ethan gave a nod. Kellen tapped his phone. The big screens meant for corporate applause flickered. The ballroom dimmed. Then came the footage, dated, clear as day. Their kitchen. Maya screaming. Ethan backing off. The pot. The water. The burn. His gasp. Then the audio dropped like a bomb. Beggar who can't work, get out of my house and never show your face again. One or two glasses clinked onto tables. The screen froze on Maya, wild-eyed, teeth bared, pot still in hand. Veronica muttered from across the room, Jesus Christ. Maya stared up at herself, as if she didn't recognize the demon on screen. Her lips moved, but nothing came out at first. Then, that's not. I didn't, you weren't supposed to. Maya stepped closer, loud enough for the entire ballroom to hear. Wasn't supposed to what, Maya? Get caught, or wasn't supposed to matter? Ethan's voice rang out, and the silence fell like a dropped chandelier. I didn't come to humiliate you, he continued, his voice slicing through the hush. I came to collect an award for a business you swore I'd never build. The same one you said I wasn't smart enough, strong enough, man enough for. He turned to the crowd. For anyone wondering why she's here tonight, don't. I didn't invite her, Ethan said, cold and sharp. She walked in like she always has, uninvited and unrepentant. 2 security guards appeared, big, suited, silent. Ethan nodded to them. Gentlemen, he said. The guards moved in, professional but with no patience for protest. Maya stepped back, her eyes wide now, for real. You can't do this to me, she spat. I'm your goddamn wife. Maya, Ethan corrected smoothly. Finalized this morning. You'll get the paperwork tomorrow. You didn't contest it because you had nothing, no prenup, no stake, no shot. One of the guards gently took her arm. She tried to jerk away. You'll regret this, she hissed. You think you've won? Maya snarled, but Ethan leaned in, almost smiling. You already tried and you failed, miserably. Then he stepped back, straightened his cuffs, and said it loud for everyone to hear. Use the service exit, Maya. It suits you. As Maya was escorted out, the ballroom buzzed with whispers. Ethan gave a subtle nod, and the screens flipped back to the regular gala program. The moment passed, but the damage stuck. Veronica and David approached slowly. Ethan, Veronica began, I didn't know she planned to come. I would have stopped her. It's fine, Ethan said calmly. Maya made her choices, now she's living with them. Veronica lowered her voice. That video, you've had it this whole time? I kept everything, Ethan replied. Every insult, every moment. Tonight was just one piece of it. David cleared his throat. She's been working for us, as I'm sure you already knew. After this, well, it might be best if she found somewhere else. Ethan nodded. Do what you need. She's no longer my problem. As they walked off, Kellen joined Ethan again. Perfect timing, he said, with a grin. Her name's Dunamis down. Ethan took a sip of champagne. So is her last chance at fixing anything. The gala rolled on, but now the room was humming with the fallout. When Ethan took the stage to accept his award, the crowd erupted in applause, not just for his work, but for how he'd handled what had just happened. Nobody said it out loud, but everyone in that room respected power. And Ethan had just shown it. His speech was short, cool, and focused. No gloating, just clean, quiet victory. Under the tux, his burned scar barely ached now, but he wouldn't forget it was there. Outside, the cold night air hit Maya like a slap. Her heels caught on the pavement as she stumbled down the back stairs. Behind her, the hotel doors shut with a soft thud, cutting her off from the world she used to belong to. Security had been calm, but firm. Leading her through the kitchen, staff stared. A woman in a gown getting thrown out, that was hard to miss. Her cheeks burned, her eyes were wet. She'd been so sure this would work, that Ethan wouldn't dare humiliate her in front of all those people. That she could fake regret and get him back. But he'd planned this, the video, the public takedown, the divorce announcement, all done behind her back. Now she was outside, alone. No ride, no working phone, no one to call. Veronica had brought her to the event after a lot of begging and promises. And now, probably already pretending she didn't know her. She started walking. The heels dug into her feet. Uptown Charlotte to Myers Park was 5 miles, it'd take hours. "Damn you, Ethan," she muttered, wiping her face. "Damn you." She'd only made it a few blocks when a black SUV pulled up beside her. The window rolled down. "Veronica," she said flatly. "Get in, you've done enough damage tonight." Maya paused, pride flickering. But she was cold, tired, and had no choice. "Where's David?" she asked as she got in. "Still at the gala. I said I needed to clean up this mess." Her voice made it clear who the mess was. They drove in silence, traffic rolling by, the tension thick. Finally, as they turned onto Veronica's street, Maya spoke. "He set me up, he wanted to shame me." "No," Veronica snapped, "you did that all by yourself. Ethan just stopped covering for you. That video, it wasn't how it looked. I was upset, he provoked me." Veronica let out a bitter laugh. "Provoked by what? Him staying quiet while you belittled him? By him not telling you he was rich so he could see the real you?" Maya stayed silent. They pulled into the driveway. Veronica parked but didn't get out right away. "Tonight was it," she said. "David and I agreed, it's time you left." Maya stared. "Wait, you're kicking me out?" "I am," Veronica said flatly. "We have businesses to protect, a name to keep clean. We can't be tied to this mess. I'm your sister, and I gave you a roof, but enough's enough. What am I supposed to do?" Maya's voice cracked. "There's $500 on the bed," Veronica said. "Use it for a cheap motel. You've got till morning to pack." "A motel?" Maya snapped. "While you live in a mansion." Veronica turned to her, cold and sharp. "You threw boiling water at your husband, a man who gave you everything and asked for nothing but respect. And since you came here, you've been nothing but dead weight." She opened her door, then added, without looking back, "The locks change tomorrow. Don't come back." Maya sat stiff in the passenger seat, her brain barely keeping up with how fast her life had fallen apart. Just a few weeks ago, she was living comfortably as a suburban housewife. Now, she was crashing in her sister's guest house with no money, no plan, and no clue what the hell came next. Homeless? Maybe. Flat out broke? Almost. She finally dragged herself to the guest house, each step heavier than the last. Inside, right on the bed, sat $500 in cash in a small suitcase. Not hers, Veronica had clearly packed it for her. Just enough room for the basics, everything else, left behind. The message was loud and clear, take what fits. The rest, not your problem anymore. Maya sat down, staring at the stack of bills. It was the most cash she'd held in years, and it wouldn't even last a week. Reality smacked her hard. No house, no husband, no job, no friends. Even her own sister had tossed her out. All because she fell for Ethan's act, that he was lazy, a loser, someone she could look down on. She clung to that idea like a lifeline, blaming him for everything she hated about her life. It let her feel better than him, justified her cruelty. And now, she had jack crap. No one left to blame. She started packing with robotic movements. Most of the clothes were cheap, functional things she'd bought for cleaning around Veronica's place. A far cry from the high-end labels she used to wear. As she folded a plain white blouse, a bitter laugh slipped out. She'd spent years mocking people who worked minimum wage jobs, who scraped by paycheck to paycheck. Now she was one of them, minus the skills, the hustle, or the work ethic. She'd earned every inch of this fall. Morning came way too soon. Sleep had been impossible. Her head spinning with dead-end plans and old regrets. She rolled the suitcase out to the main house, hoping maybe, just maybe, Veronica would change her mind. But the house was locked. Lights out, nobody home. On the front steps sat an envelope. Inside, a bus pass and a note. Veronica's perfect handwriting cutting like a blade. This is the last help you'll get from me. Don't reach out again. Swallowing back the sting, Maya walked down the driveway toward the main road. She caught the next bus heading downtown with zero idea where she was going. Maybe a cheap motel, that was about all she could afford. But after that? Look for a job? Who was gonna hire a middle-aged woman with no resume, no skills, and nothing to offer but years of judging other people? The bus cruised through Charlotte, shifting from picture-perfect Myers Park to the more beaten-up parts of the city. Maya just stared out the window, watching the scenery change from polished to patched up. She got off near a strip of motels she'd never have looked twice at in her old life. Now she was sizing them up like a survival game. How many nights could she squeeze out of $500? Victory Inn was the cheapest, and it looked the part. The paint was peeling, the neon sign barely worked. At the front desk, a bored guy scrolled his phone. "You need a room?" he asked without looking up. "Weekly rate," Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. He slid a form across the counter, ID and credit card for the deposit. "I'll pay cash," she said, fingers curling around the bills in her purse. "And I don't have ID right now. It got stolen." The clerk finally gave her a good look. Messy hair, designer clothes wrinkled from sleeping in them. Heels scuffed from walking. "Cash means $50 deposit." "No ID, you gotta pay the full week up front," he said. Maya didn't argue, just handed him the money. Nearly half of it gone in seconds. He handed her a real metal key, none of that electronic card stuff, and pointed down the hall. "Room 114, checkout's 11 sharp. No refunds, no excuses." The room was just as sad as she expected. The bed sagged in the middle. The carpet was older than her. The bathroom smelled like mold and despair, but it was a roof for now. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the water-stained wall, and it all hit her again. Ethan hadn't just walked out. He'd taken her whole damn life apart, one piece at a time. The house, the stuff, her social standing, her family ties, her pride, gone. And he'd planned every move. 3 months later, Ethan stood on the balcony of his new estate, right in the same neighborhood where he used to live with Maya. Except now, it wasn't a house. It was a top-tier spa for the city's rich and powerful, completely remodeled. Luxe as hell. The sleek black sign at the entrance read, "Blackstone's Revival Spa and Wellness Retreat." Kellen walked out beside him, handing him a glass of whiskey. "Big turnout tonight," he said, glancing down at the valet line packed with expensive cars and designer shoes. Ethan smirked. 3-month wait list already. The committee's being picky on purpose. Kellen grinned. "I saw Veronica and David didn't make the cut. Neither did the Wexlers or anyone who felt bad for Maya." Ethan shrugged. "This isn't just business, it's personal." "Well, it's profitable too," Kellen added. "Property value tripled since the makeover." Ethan took a sip, his eyes scanning the crowd. "Good. Let me see what I built without her." Ethan barely heard Kellen. His gaze was fixed on the sidewalk below, locked onto a woman pushing a busted-up shopping cart packed with random junk, blankets, plastic bags, a broken umbrella. Even from the top-floor balcony, he knew exactly who it was. Maya. She looked nothing like the woman he'd once married. The high-end clothes, gone. Now she was wrapped in layers of worn-out thrift store rags. Her hair, once styled like she lived at the salon, hung flat and greasy. She walked slow, like her body had given up before her mind had. She stopped at the edge of the property, staring up at the place that used to be their home. Now remodeled and rebranded into Blackstone's Revival Spa, fitting. Ethan watched, deadpan, as she lingered there with a paper cup in her hand, asking for spare change from anyone who came close. Most people ignored her. Some crossed the street to avoid her entirely. The same woman who used to scoff at those people was now right there with them. Broke, alone, begging on the sidewalk of the city she once thought she'd own. "She's back," Kellen said, following his line of sight. "That's the third time this week." "Yeah, I know. She's hoping you'll see her, maybe feel bad." Ethan took a sip of whiskey, rolled it on his tongue, then swallowed. "She's wasting her time." Kellen raised an eyebrow. "The staff's asking if they should call the cops, loitering and all that." Ethan watched her for a few more seconds as she tried again, approaching a man who immediately picked up the pace. "No, leave her," he said, voice calm. "Let her look. Let her stand there and watch everything she could have had. Let her sit in it." Kellen nodded, not surprised. "So, Europe's ahead of projections, Asia's booming, Nexus is eliminating it." Everything was green, lights flashing across the horizon. Ethan finally looked away from Maya and turned toward the city skyline stretching out in front of them. He breathed in deep. "You know what I like most," he said. "That I never had to forgive her, never had to forget. I just outlived the damage, and I won." Down on the street, Maya paused, her eyes scanning the building, like she felt him watching. Their eyes met across the distance, hers hollow and tired, his cold and steady. Then Ethan blinked and looked away. Just like that, she was gone from his mind, the same way she'd been erased from his life. He had other things to focus on, bigger things, empire-level things. Maya was just a chapter he'd closed. Kellen reached for the whiskey decanter. "Another?" "Yeah," Ethan said, settling back into a cushioned chair. "And when Thomas gets here, tell him to bring the quarterly reports. I want to look before the board meets tomorrow." As the sun dipped behind the Charlotte skyline, casting a warm golden glow across the city he now ruled, Ethan let himself feel something close to peace. Not because Maya was down there suffering. He hadn't built his empire for revenge. That part just happened on its own. No, the Real win was simple. He'd proven exactly who he was, to the world, to Maya, and to himself. "I want to take a moment to thank you for taking this journey with me. You've watched me go through the lows, the heartbreak, and the struggle to rebuild after it all. I know many of you have been through your own battles, whether in your personal lives or professional ones, and I hope that something in this story resonated with you. It's never easy to face the consequences of our actions and the choices we make, but it's through those moments that we grow stronger and more determined. Now, as I stand on the other side of this chapter, I'm not just here to share my story with you, I'm asking for your support. Share your thoughts, your experiences, your advice. What have you learned from your own struggles, and how have you overcome the challenges that seemed impossible at the time? Your words could help someone else who's facing their own version of what I've been through. I won't pretend that everything is perfect, but I've learned that it's not about perfection. It's about moving forward with the strength we gain from our setbacks, and knowing that the only person who can truly define our worth is ourselves. So, if you've faced similar challenges or even if you're just starting to rebuild, I'd love to hear from you. Let's build a community where we don't just survive, we thrive, together. Drop a comment below with your thoughts, advice, or just to show your support. We're all in this together, and sometimes, the best way to move forward is to lift each other up.